Hey, what's up, guys? Welcome back to the channel. I'm yet again honored to be joined by the Archivist, and today we have our essentially finale for the Acolyte. It dropped just about an hour ago, thanks to Variety, that the Acolyte Season 2 has been officially canceled over at Lucasfilm and Disney. Again, we will not be getting a second season of the Acolyte. And as the Archivist and I sat through every episode of the Acolyte and went along the journey and shared our thoughts, we didn't like the series very much at all, but we thought it was appropriate that you guys get our reactions here and we get to sort of bookend this series with the official cancellation, again, from Disney. Overall, I found The Acolyte to be kind of a mean-spirited, underwhelming show set in an era with limitless potential, set with characters that have limitless potential, but that are quite literally relegated to background cave dwellers and last-second cameos that now ultimately have led to absolutely nothing. So, The Acolyte has been canceled. What are your thoughts, my friend? Are we happy?
I am, because I don't have to eat my shoe.
Yeah. You did promise that you would eat that if they announced a second season of The Acolyte, which they did not.
No.
No wonder when you have a show that costs as much as The Acolyte did, $180 million budget. I know a lot of the viewers of the channel have been absolutely, dumbfounded by the price of this series, that a series can actually be that expensive. And to get ultimately what we got, which regardless of how you stand on The Acolyte and the quality, I think we can all universally agree that the fact that it cost as much as it did is concerning. And then, Disney is a corporation. They can stand by what they want to push and how they want to mold their Star Wars as a franchise. But at the end of the day, if it doesn't make dollars, it doesn't make sense. So, they have ultimately decided to move on from it. And I think that this is something that we saw coming from a ways away. A lot of the fan reception for The Acolyte has been mixed at best.
Right.
There's good things happening in The Acolyte. I think one of the biggest pitfalls of this whole series overall is just an unlikable, lackluster lead. A lot of the people have been criticizing our lead actress, and I've tried my best to just put The Acolyte out of my mind. But again, we felt like the announcement that it has been officially canceled warranted our full reaction. A lot of the stuff about The Acolyte online has been really interesting. It's put a lot of criticisms of Star Wars in the past in new perspective, especially with this new character that we got in May in Osha, contrasted with Hayden Christensen's legitimately, I think now, very good performance for Revenge of the Sith, where we get a much more accurate depiction of what somebody embracing the dark side experiences and what they go through. And I think that the more we see Disney and Lucasfilm try to make these gray more characters and have like a sympathetic fall to the dark side, as they continue to sort of flounder, it really builds upon Hayden's masterful performance and his embrace and turn to the dark side in Revenge of the Sith. Because in a lot of the ways, the story that they wanted to illustrate with the Acolyte, this individual who's becoming more disillusioned with the Jedi Order, the Jedi are the villains, being led to the open arms of the Sith to be manipulated. Again, George Lucas kept the story straight. He never made it appear that like the Sith were the good guys when Anakin was being manipulated. No. Where with the Acolyte, things get a little bit more muddled and you're unsure where your allegiances should lie. And I think that that's an ambitious undertaking. And when someone like George Lucas does it beforehand and understands these characters so completely and delivers essentially the same product and the same message that you're attempting to recreate later down the line in a brand new era to make your own, I think that the shortcomings of that story really become clear because of how, well executed certain aspects of Revenge of the Sith were. Now, I'm not saying Revenge of the Sith is a perfect film, but what I am saying is that Anakin Skywalker's fall to the dark side is impactful, it's memorable, and it's heart-wrenching in a million ways that OSHA's fall to the dark side or embrace of the dark side really is not. And again, Revenge of the Sith is a film that will stand the test of time because of its performances and because of the care that's put into it. And The Acolyte has shown already that it will not stand the test of time because of the performances. So overall, I'm happy that they came out and officially canceled The Acolyte instead of handling it like they have some projects in the past, especially with Rian Johnson's Star Wars trilogy,
right?
Which were going on now, 7 years without any real concrete information on, whether or not this is actually happening, which it's not happening, guys, because studios don't announce something and then 7 years later have crickets about it. So I think that all things considered, this is moving in the right direction. This is an acknowledgement from Disney themselves that The Acolyte was a mistake, because you don't cancel something that's a success. It's as simple as that. You don't cancel something that's widely beloved and that has a lot of people behind it ready to support the franchise and aspects of the franchise that they think are good. This is not a situation with the Clone Wars where, Lucasfilm is trading hands and is being handed over to a bigger corporation in Disney. This is Disney with full control over their product, acknowledging that it didn't work and that they're going to move in the right direction, which is something that we have been asking them to do. And so I think that overall, the idea that they've decided to move beyond The Acolyte is a positive thing and is cause for perhaps not celebration being the correct word, but slight optimism, if you will. So anyway, man, what do you think about The Acolyte Season 2 being officially axed and the story coming to a abrupt conclusion?
I hate to give you the cynical answer and say it was doomed from the start, but it's one of those things where, and not to rehash the entire review, but it's like, it's difficult when you go back and look and watch this show to try to figure out who this was for, because it clearly wasn't for a diehard fan base because of all the lore contradictions made to it, and it's hard to see it as a show for a casual audience because of all the deep lore things that it references. It tries to do this balancing act while completely failing at story and character. And as you accurately pointed out, not only is the character journey of Osha very unconvincing, and her fall to the dark side it just falls flat. But it's like it's difficult to get attached to these characters when we don't really even know what they want, because their motivations were always changing and the story was always shifting. And it was if as a Star Wars fan, it was a frustrating viewing process for entirely different reasons. But for a casual fan, it would be very frustrating to try to follow a story that not only has no set end, but the end post keeps changing. And I don't think that Disney as a company would want to go through another season of that, if you catch my meaning.
Yeah, so the big question here is, before we move on to how they can, maybe course correct with some of these characters, because there are massive players that they introduce with the Acolyte, and if they choose to just leave those story threads completely untouched, be it, not addressed in any sort of comic or book or any medium whatsoever, I do believe that is a mistake. But before we get into that in full, you took the chance to look up some of the streaming numbers and to get really concrete about the Acolyte. What did you discover in terms of the solid numbers? Because numbers don't lie and numbers don't care about your feelings. So what did we learn?
So basically, when the show first came out, its 2-episode premiere had 4.8 million viewers on the first day, which was the highest Disney Plus premiere of this year. And in the first week, it kind of climbed. I was about to say clum. It climbed up to 11.1 million. But after the third episode, it took a absolute nosedive, skydiving off the top 10 charts. And then apparently the season finale got back to the top 10 with 335 million minutes viewed, which may be the lowest ever for a Star Wars finale at all.
Wow. I think it's really telling there that like the drop off occurred with episode 3, which is, one of, if not the worst episode of the entire show. And it just grinds the entire plot to a screeching halt and gives us very uninteresting and overall unimportant characters.
It's interesting. Yeah, what's interesting is the website that I got these numbers off of, they're kind of on Disney's side here, and they kind of play with the numbers in front of my eyes here for a minute, to where I was almost confused, where they go from giving me the numbers of the viewers to the numbers of the minutes viewed. So I go from, low million numbers to high millions, but I did want to make sure to emphasize again that the finale had 335 million minutes viewed, not viewers total.
Right. And I'm sure that there are establishments out there where we can find, accurate numbers on the finale. But again, the finale is not all that important. Your premieres and your finales are going to get views regardless.
Okay.
But what you got to do is you got to stay consistent with, the story you're telling throughout, because your finale can do stupid good numbers if what is coming before is great setup. I think that obviously some of the best examples is The Mandalorian season 2, where they have a lot of build-up episodes, but the middle of the second season of The Mandalorian is still delivering, a fun ride, great action, really good set pieces, and ultimately leading into a really big, really satisfying finale. And I think that those first 2 seasons of The Mandalorian do a really good job at maintaining the quality of the show throughout and earning a lot of audience, a lot of leeway with the audience, where The Acolyte doesn't do that. People gave it a chance, but instead of earning good faith with the audience as the series progressed, it jumps all over the timeline. It doesn't give us concrete, interesting characters to attach to. The motivations of our characters are constantly in flux, making it difficult to pin down. And the most interesting aspects of the lore that are explored with the Acolyte are either literally pushed to the far recesses of the cave of the plot or contradict, lore. I think that the introduction of Plagueis in the finale of the Acolyte came off exceptionally cheap, in my opinion. Mm-hmm. Very much like a look what we got, we're going to dangle this character that you love and appreciate, that a lot of other authors and Lucas put a lot of good faith in establishing and setting up the importance of this character, and we're going to piggyback off of all of that. So if anything, when I saw Plagueis, half of me initially was extremely excited, but the other half was a little bit like, do you really want this? Do you really want these creatives behind this story in canon? And for me, the answer is no.
What's pretty unforgivable for me is just how boring the show is. Kind of going back to what I was saying about, trying to figure out who the show is for. There is no casual audience member that's going to hold their attention in the middle. It's no wonder that the numbers dropped off towards the middle. Like you accurately pointed out with The Mandalorian, there was always something happening. There was always something interesting going on. And I'm not always just talking about action here. We had in The Acolyte, it literally had a whole episode start to finish with nothing but action, and yet it was still a very little substance. And I do know of people who don't consider action to be exciting at all in movies and will fall asleep during the most hype lightsaber duel you've ever seen. And and as weird as that sounds, I just know that there are people out there like that. But with like The Mandalorian, the plot keeps you invested, the characters keep you invested, and when they are just kind of standing around talking or going on a hike, it's not boring because it actually matters to what's going on. But with The Acolyte, it's just, there's a very giant portion in the middle that's just a gray blah. And it's been only a couple of weeks after we watched the show, and I genuinely can't remember what happened around in the middle part of the show right now.
Yeah, I've sort of pushed it out of my mind, and just tried to delve deeper into the ancient Sith lore and some of the Eternal Empire stuff. So just to put it back in the recesses. But going back to the budget, I just want to give another example. I recently went out as a big sci-fi fan in general and saw Alien Romulus. I'm a big fan of the Alien franchise. And that movie cost $80 million, so less than half the Acolyte, as a theatrically released movie. And the movie Alien Romulus looks just phenomenal. And it's a testament to what you can do with less than half the budget of the Acolyte. And I just, obviously this isn't an Alien channel, but I think that there will be overlap in the fan bases. And I would use that as an example. Both films, owned by Disney, by the way, even though Disney they're going to release Alien under, sub companies, because they're not going to release it under, the Disney mantra or, label, but they are run and owned and operated by the same company. So it all goes down to the creatives that you're giving this money to. And they just gave money to unproven creators. They told a story that I think that deep down in their hearts knew would not resonate with large sections of the fan base, that they could just label as toxic or whatever have you, and use that as an argument to not have to address the quality of product that they're delivering to us. I think this was the last of a dying mindset at Lucasfilm, in my opinion, where they think that Star Wars is infallible. I think that if they thought Star Wars was truly infallible, they would have greenlit a second season of The Acolyte, no problem, and just pushed forward. But this is a small course correction. There's, insider information leaking out every other day that says Kathleen Kennedy wants to retire on a win at Lucasfilm. And I think that we all as Star Wars fans can say we would absolutely love for this franchise to get a win. We want it to succeed. We want it to flourish. The Acolyte just did not do it. It didn't do it for me. It didn't do it for large sections of the fan base, and now the proof is in the pudding. Even Disney is not willing to back this for a second season. And at the end of the day, while we may be relieved and feel good that we don't have to, get a second season of The Acolyte, it's really sad because this universe has such great potential to tell such amazing, heartfelt stories. And the fact that a franchise like this can deliver something that just does not hit with the audience is not the end of the world, but it is, disappointing. And I think that if I had to say one word to summarize the entire experience of watching The Acolyte, it would be disappointing. There's no ill will towards any of the creatives.
No.
But as a fan of the franchise, it's just not what I wanted.
As for me, it's not the Jedi way to gloat upon an enemy's downfall. And so I won't either. And it's not even like I'm having this sense of triumph or schadenfreude of seeing this show fail. And, I want Disney to succeed. I want Star Wars to succeed. And I really hope that this course correction will be what brings us to where we need to be. We've got Skeleton Crew coming out this year. I don't really know what to expect from that show, but honestly, I think that it's not an unpopular thing to say that The Acolyte was rock bottom so far, and I really don't see Skeleton Crew being any worse. And I think any shows or projects, hopefully movies, after this will be put on a better path with creatives behind it who, at this point, I honestly don't know if I care if they fully understand deep lore or not. I just want creatives working on Star Wars who enjoy Star Wars, because my last thoughts on The Acolyte is that it was made by people who just don't enjoy Star Wars.
I think that this is not a celebration for the creatives failing.
No, it's not.
This is an optimism for the future wonderful stories that we can hopefully get from this beautiful franchise.
Absolutely.
And like you said, we don't want to dance on the grave of the Acolyte. I personally would just like to, pretend that it doesn't exist and to move on and to, invest my time in whatever Disney has coming that I think is quality and worth investing time into. Whether that's Skeleton Crew or not, who knows? There's a level where you love a franchise so much you're going to give pretty much anything a chance. But, we also have a responsibility to be honest about our opinions. And I didn't like the Acolyte. I don't think that anything they've shown us from Skeleton Crew has blown me away at all. But I'm going to give it a shot. And we're just going to have to wait and see. But with that said, we appreciate you guys so immensely who have stuck with us over this Acolyte review and have shared your thoughts on the Acolyte in the comments down below. It's been extremely refreshing, and it's made watching the show so worth it to get to interact with you guys and to be a part of Star Wars in real time. Sometimes as a fan that was kind of young during the prequels, and to get that discourse around Star Wars again has just been a joy. Even if it's over a part of Star Wars that we didn't necessarily like, getting to interact with the fans and to get to talk about a franchise that we all love for different reasons is just such a treat. So thank you guys for that, sincerely.
I feel like I've grown really attached to all you guys, really in these reviews, coming on here every week during the Acolyte and getting to talk with you guys and see your opinions and bring up your points during each discussion. It has really been awesome. And you know what? We're going to be here to record and report on what else is going to be coming up in the future. And again, whether that's Skeleton Crew or if that's like a different project, I look forward to seeing what else we can get into and look forward to talking to you guys a lot more.
What's the last Luke quote that he ever has? Is it something like "to old friends and new adventures"?
Yeah, I think that's
it's something like that. That's how I feel about moving forward with Skeleton Crew and our experience on the Acolyte. The old friends to the friends that we've made in the comments and the fellow Star Wars lovers, and to new adventures.
May the Force be with you.
May the Force be with you. We love you guys. Thank you so much, and we'll catch you for more discussions. We're gonna have some stuff coming out between now and Skeleton Crew, so stay tuned.